Call Deputies Dominic, Hannigan and Peter Fitzpatrick. Deputy Hannigan.
We've waited a long time to speak on this bill in the House. It's been one of the policy issues that has been discussed at length since this government was formed 4 years ago. There's been divided opinion about the merits of the legislation. That's because there's divided opinion out there about what the legislation will mean for family life in Ireland. I believe that the legislation recognises the reality of Irish family life as it is now. It takes the family situations that children across the island are in and it attempts to put the best interest at the heart of the legislation. Now, it might suit some people to forget that 1 in 4 families in Ireland are not a married mother and father with children type family. They're a blend of all family types, and we can't ignore them. And I know the Minister knows this, and I agree with the Minister when she says that the best interests of the child are the golden threads that are running through this bill. With that as the binding that holds the bill together, I believe that both ministers and their civil servants have drafted a very forward-looking and comprehensive piece of legislation. Many of the opposition speeches here have centred not on the merits or the demerits of the actual legislation itself. They focused on the amount of time that we expect to spend debating the legislation. In my view, that's just shadow boxing, because we introduced reforms into how we deal with legislation. This government did over the last 4 years. And, for instance, the heads of this bill went through a public consultation process with the Justice Committee. They held hearings. They were in-depth hearings. They were far-reaching, thorough. 38 submissions were received by the committee from various interest groups and from individuals as well. And as a result of that, a report was then submitted to the department so that its conclusions could be included in the final language of the bill. And I think that type of legislative reform that we introduced does help to produce better quality legislation because of the time and effort that a committee can put into teasing out the issues of any piece of legislation. The bill before us this evening recognises lone parent families, blended families, same-sex couple households, or households headed up by grandparents or other relatives. And this is very positive and, as I said, reflects the Ireland of today. And it tells children in non-traditional families that they're in households that have the same right to be cared for, to listen to and to nurture, just like any other family. And I think that's a very positive thing. We've heard some concerns expressed about adoption and what this bill will mean for that process. The adoption process is what's best for the child and nothing else. Politicians are not social workers. It's not for us to make the best call in cases where there are children being placed into foster homes or adoptive homes. That's the work of social services. That's where the experts are, the experts that are trained in how to deal with these decisions. And I think it's best left to them to deal with those decisions. One of the other provisions of the bill allows for cohabitant partners, one of whom is not the biological parent of a child, to be officially recognised as such by the state. And the legislation sets a limit of 3 years living with partner and child for that to happen. It's very likely anyway that after 3 years the child has been calling them mum or dad anyway, so I think it's fitting that the state should recognise this. I don't think there's an issue there at all. No doubt we have time, Minister, to tease out many issues in relation to this legislation over the coming phase, not just in second stage but also during the committee process. I commend your work in this, your efforts in this. We all support you in this, and we hope to see this piece of legislation passed as soon as possible. So you have our support. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy.